council is settled. It is time. We're going to do it. Clue number 3, I want all hands on deck. Get me a dozen on research, get me 2 dozen on filming, get me another dozen on editing. Who should get the coffee? Get me a dozen on them as well. I want 6 people carrying the coffee, and I want 6 people carrying those people. Clue number 11, get the original Tim on the phone. Original Tim? Hi, Mr. Tim. We're sorry for bothering you, but we were wondering if... How important can this be? It is time. By Mishka. We're doing it, aren't we? It has been so long. Let it begin. As up, viewers, spirits have always had a vital place in the Avatar mythology, as guardians of forests like Heibai, as primordial beings like Twi and La, the moon and the ocean, and the necessary cute factor like Fuzzyfoot. But they're fundamentally mysterious. We know very little about their nature or their history. But in The Search Part 3, we learn one very curious thing about them. They can reproduce. They can have children. In a climactic scene in the comic, Team Avatar search out an ancient spirit capable of restoring people's faces and memories. They do this because Zuko's mother, Ursa, got a new face and new memories in order to escape her painful past and hide from Fire Lord Ozai. Now what's interesting is that they meet Ratha, a man who had his face stolen by everyone's favourite non-human centipede, Ko the Face Stealer. I've seen something like this before. When I met Ko the Face Stealer, quiet. The Mother of Faces ordered, her lips twitching at the name. Repeat what you said, Avatar. Ko the Face Stealer, Aang replied, nervous. The Mother of Faces drew herself up. He is my son, she declared. That is not the name I gave him, but yes. He's been estranged from me since time began. The legends say he misses me so much that he spent all of history stealing faces. I can feel his handiwork here. This is the only instance that we know of a parental relationship between 2 spirits, here being mother and son. But the question we're concerned with is, how is this possible? Did Ko have a daddy? Did he and the Mother of Faces have sex? Am I allowed to say that on a kid-friendly channel? I don't know. No, I think it's something far more complicated and far more interesting. Upon rewatching some key scenes in the series, I noticed one important thing about spirits that really ties into the broader Avatar mythology: their age. Throughout the series, a number of spirits are described as older than others. In particular, the moon and ocean spirits are described in the following way.
The ocean and the moon are ancient spirits. They crossed over from the spirit world to the mortal world very near the beginning.
Likewise, Ko the Face Stealer is described thusly.
There is only one spirit I know of who is old enough to remember.
Ko is distinctly equated to be nearly as old as the moon and ocean spirits, but more importantly, that he is one of the only spirits to be that old. And we know from this that the other spirits that we meet throughout the series must be younger, because they weren't around at the time. And some spirits are described as old enough to be around since the beginning of time. The Mother of Faces says, "Since the beginning of time, I fashioned faces with great care and deliberation." Rava describes her conflict with Vaatu this way.
Since the beginning of time, we have battled over the fate of this world.
And Vaatu explicitly alludes to how old he is in saying,
I lived 10,000 lifetimes before the first of your kind crawled out of the mud.
There is also a good amount of evidence to suggest that there is an ancient sun spirit out there that everyone has just simply forgotten about. If you want to learn more about that and whether or not dragons came from the spirit world, then go click on that video. It's one of my favorite videos that I've ever made. It's got a really well supported theory. Go check that out. In contrast to this, we also know that some spirits are far younger than others, particularly those who were originally humans. In the episode The Painted Lady, we learn of a spirit of the same name who guards, embodies, and protects the Jianghui River in the Fire Nation. The DVD commentary for the Legend of Korra episode A New Spiritual Age also notes that the Painted Lady was once a human who, due to her intimate care and spiritual connection to the river, she ascended to become a spirit. Likewise, in the comic Smoke and Shadow Part 2, we learn that the Komurakaji are spirits who were once human. They were a group of mothers whose children were kidnapped by a vicious warlord called Taz. Upon their grief, they became spirits of vengeance and justice. They only came into existence in highly traumatic or highly spiritual moments. Now, these are some examples of spirits explicitly coming into existence, but as I mentioned before, we do know that some are explicitly older than others, some are explicitly younger than others, meaning that somehow more spirits came into existence over time. And while there are some examples of humans becoming spirits, I don't think this is the rule. I think this is the exception, and I think there is another way that more spirits are born. In answer to this, there is a key quote from the Mother of Faces that really clues us in. I am the Mother of Faces. Through me, separateness came into the world. Through me came identity. The one became the many. In each face, I put a piece of my own being. So one thing that is repeated over and over throughout the series, both explicitly and implicitly, is that spirits embody things. In some cases, they embody ideas and concepts, like the Mother of Faces embodies separateness and individual identity. Rava and Vatu embody other ideas.
He is the force of darkness and chaos. I am the force of light and peace. He cannot destroy light any more than I can destroy darkness. One cannot exist without the other.
They embody light and dark, peace and chaos. Wan Shi Tong, who we meet in the episode The Library, is a spirit of knowledge and ageless wisdom. And the form he takes, an owl, is determined by that embodiment because of the connection between knowledge and wisdom and owls. And as for the moon and the ocean spirits,
their spirit names are Twi and La. Push and pull. Your moon and ocean, they balance each other. Push and pull. Life and death. Good and evil. Yin and yang.
These two not only embody the principle of balance in the world between things, but unlike Rava and Vatu, they also embody physical things in the world, the moon and the ocean. But this type of spirit is actually a lot more common. For example, Heibai. He is the spirit of the forest outside Senlin village. His being is intimately connected to its welfare. Likewise, as mentioned before, the Painted Lady embodies the Zhanghui River, and Tianhai embodied and protected a part of the shoreline in the Earth Kingdom, we learn in the Rift. And we meet various other forest, river, and mountain spirits throughout the canon. What's notable, and this is the key point, is that the oldest spirits that we know of embody the biggest and most important ideas in the universe. The fundamental forces of the Avatar mythology: chaos, order, yin, yang, balance, identity, separateness, the moon and the ocean themselves. It makes sense that as these ideas came into being, so did the spirits that embodied them. They are, in a sense, the very idea themselves. That's partly why spirits are immortal, because you can't kill an idea.
And ideas are bulletproof.
Sorry, I just love that scene so much. It's my theory that this is how spirits reproduce. Maybe order and chaos came first, maybe balance did, maybe separateness and identity did. We don't know which came first or whether they all came into existence at the same time. What's important is that with these fundamental forces in play, other things could come from them. Just as the moon and the ocean are some of the oldest spirits, the spirits of the sun, the sky, the rain, the continents, the mountain ranges on those continents, they could come into being as well. But before that, they needed some principle of order or balance to the world to allow nature to take its course. Then from that, spirits like Heibai could be born, the spirit of the forest that grows on the side of that mountain range. In a sense, Heibai would be the child of the spirit of that mountain range, as what he embodied came out of what that spirit embodied, the soil of that mountain. This idea is supported by the Avatar extras for the episode The Painted Lady, where the writers note that the real Painted Lady is a water spirit. Water spirits and the spirit of the moon are closely related. Even without that choice in wording, it still fits really well. The moon and the ocean spirits are incredibly close. They are primordial beings that are tied to one another. and the spirits of rivers and lakes are their children as they came into being as those things formed throughout the continents. But these river and lake spirits couldn't come into being without the moon and the ocean first, creating something of a parental relationship. But let's contextualize this to the mother of faces and Ko the Face Stealer. He is her son. The quote, "The one became the many," suggests to me that prior to her there was no individualism, that everything was chaotically mixed together, with no differentiation between any individual idea, or concept, or thing, meaning creatures or people could not evolve. But with separateness and identity coming into being, what comes after that? Ko has the opposite power to his mother, the ability to take faces rather than to give them, and I thought at first that he might embody a concept like collectivism, having many faces all drawn into one, but it could be something more along the lines of the loss of individualism, that we give up part of our individuality to join communities. It's not necessarily a bad thing, it's actually a very human thing. We give up some measure of agency, but that idea had to come after individualism. But that's just my theory, we really don't know enough. But this conception of parental relationships between spirits, that some spirits came before others, and that this is how it works, really makes sense of why Ko the Face Stealer doesn't look even remotely like his mother, because that parental relationship is in no way a physical one, it's definitely a conceptual one. It's a spiritual thing, it's about what is born of their essence, of what they embody. To me, this really paints a beautiful picture of the Avatar mythology, and this also ties in with a lot of Eastern religions that have these concepts of balance, of chaos and order being the primordial beings, and that from them has to come other concepts, that these very fundamental forces of the universe have to be in play before the earth can form, before continents and land can form. That is actually a common motif in a number of Eastern mythologies, which we know that Avatar draws on. That spirits reproduce in the same way that ideas come from one another, and that trees must come from the earth. The creation story has always been vague in the Avatar universe, but this gives it some organic imagery of a universe rising from chaos into cohesion. But before we end this video, I want to give a special thank you to one of our community, Daniel 830-124-680-13579, a while ago, and by a while ago I mean almost exactly a year, with like July 10th being the video that I said this in. I said this.
Oh, and on a side note, I have this really awesome theory about how spirits reproduce, so somebody remind me to make that video.
Never did I expect for the life of me that an offhanded comment that wasn't even in my script, the community would seize upon it, and consistently, every single video, this guy, Daniel, would post a reminder for me to do that video. Every single video, he has been doing it for that long, and the community noticed it. So here's to you. I commend you, Daniel. This is actually just juice, because, we didn't have anything else, and I don't drink alcohol. But that is all from me. If you'd like to support me and our Supreme Leader Mishka, especially as I'm sort of going into doing this full time with me finishing uni pretty damn soon, then I would love for you to join us over on the Discord, where we can talk about any of the fandoms or anything else that I make on this channel. For just a couple of dollars a month on Patreon. Thank you to those of you who already do. It really does mean the world, and it gives me some measure of security in a somewhat volatile YouTube political environment. Question of the day: which was your favourite spirit that you saw throughout the series? Mine was Ko the Face Stealer. Let me know yours down in the comments below. In the meantime, come follow me over on Twitter or Facebook, or email me stuff that you may address and links in the description below. Love for you to do that. It's great to talk with the community. Thank you for watching. This video has been long awaited. I hope that you like the theory. These are just my thoughts on it. Stay nerdy, Sub Furies, and I will see you in the future.